من الرياض إلى كل العالم. الجلسات تتواصل، الحوارات ما زالت تصنع آفاقاً أجمل، والسعودية تكرر الترحيب بالآتين إليها من كل فج جميل. أيها السيدات والسادة، الابتكار، التحول الرقمي، التميز، الكفاءة، الذكاء الاصطناعي، كل هذه المفردات من أوائل ما تصافحك به رؤية السعودية 2030. هذه الرؤية التي لا تقرأ المستقبل فقط بل تصنعه أيضاً. يلعب الذكاء الاصطناعي دوراً محورياً في نقل العالم إلى مرحلة أجزم أنها لا تشبه ما قبلها، وكلما وظف في قطاعات التشغيل أعطى أبعاداً أكبر يقيس مدى نجاحها المختصون. ما أبرز مساهمات وتأثيرات ونتائج الذكاء الاصطناعي في التميز التشغيلي؟ ما شكل المستقبل معه؟ وكيف نستعد للقادم الذكي؟ هذه الأسئلة وأكثر تطرح على مشهد الحوار القادم في جلسة حوارية تحمل عنوان دور الذكاء الاصطناعي في التميز التشغيلي. ودعونا نرحب معا بالضيوف المتحدثين والمشاركين في هذه الندوة. رحبوا معي بالمتحدث الرسمي والمدير العام للإدارة العامة للدراسات في الهيئة السعودية للبيانات والذكاء الاصطناعي، الأستاذ ماجد الشهري. رحبوا معي بنائب أول للرئيس والمدير الإقليمي للصناعات الرقمية في شركة سيمنز السعودية، فواز الشمري. رحبوا معي بالرئيس التنفيذي لشركة شنايدر إلكتريك في المملكة العربية السعودية، محمد شاهين. رحبوا معي بالمستشار في وزارة الطاقة في المملكة العربية السعودية، يحيى خوجة. ورحبوا بشكل مضاعف، وأنا أقول مضاعف انحيازاً لمن يديرون اللقاءات لأنهم يحملون شقاً إعلامياً لا يخفى، بمدير هذه الجلسة، مدير عام المركز الوطني لتنمية المواهب والذكاء الاصطناعي في الهيئة السعودية للبيانات والذكاء الاصطناعي، عبدالرحمن حبيب. أنقل الصوت إلى الأستاذ عبدالرحمن حبيب ليتحاور ويتحدث مع ضيوفه في وقت أرجو أن تقضوا فيه متعة وفائدة ونفعا. تفضل أستاذ عبدالرحمن.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I'm very delighted and it's a pleasure to be here with this amazing panel, getting people from industry, from Schneider, from Siemens, and from government as well to talk about an important topic, artificial intelligence and impact of artificial intelligence in operation excellence. Without further ado, let me ask a question. What is artificial intelligence? And we'll start with Ustad Majid.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good afternoon. This is one of the great questions to start with the session. And this is an important question. And I believe today there are different definitions for everything related to emerging technologies, not just artificial intelligence. To start with artificial intelligence, we at Sadaya have our own definition, and luckily, and this is not prepared, we have released a glossary for data and AI last Friday, and it's being used now for the whole public, so you can go to sadaya.gov.sa and download that glossary. It contains a list of terms, including artificial intelligence as a word, and we have the definition for that in English, along with the Arabic translated definition. So, We have picked the definition that we believe is common and being used by everyone, since AI is being used at the industries, multi-industries, by researchers, and also for commercial reasons. We believe artificial intelligence as of today is one of the important fields of computer science, and it's demonstrating the capabilities that you need human beings to do by using the technologies to perform that. So artificial intelligence is mature enough now to demonstrate some values, so it's no more a pilot for us. However, it, with time, will grow and continue impressing all of us with its capabilities. So today, if there is a limited scope for what AI can do for us, definitely in 5 years from today, that will be extremely changed.
Mehndis Fawaz, what do you think?
السلام عليكم، سعيد أكون معكم اليوم. Thank you, Dr. Abdulrahman. I would say Engineer Majid already explained it, but in a simple way, artificial intelligence, it's the simulation of the human intelligence to be processed by a machine. And there is many applications on the artificial intelligence. Simple application, we can see it in Siri, in Alexa, in any voice recognition devices or services, or some complicated and complex artificial intelligence, which is in big data, machine learning, and complex process can be done by artificial intelligence. And it can be used in many sectors, either being advertisement, marketing, healthcare, and so on. I'm sure we will talk in more details about it.
Ustad Mohammed, can you give us some examples about artificial intelligence, either personal or professional?
Yes, sure. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. When we speak about the definition of the artificial intelligence, it's let's go back to the simple basics. I remember like 3 decades back when we were defining what's the computer, and we used to say it's simply a machine, and between brackets, a stupid machine. This is what they used to teach us when we were young in schools, if you do remember. Why we call it stupid? We call it stupid because we got used to say it's a machine where it will do the orders coming out of the human beings. What we have new now as an artificial intelligence, in a simple definition, that how a machine or a robot can be controlled by another machine which is programmed by human beings. So we do program the machines to do what we get used to do as human beings in an intelligent way, saving time and effort, seeking the most efficient output of that task. Simply in examples of the industrial side, what we see every day, how the technology is becoming more developed and enhanced day by day, where things that we got used to do in the past in days start to be done in hours. At the same time, in our personal life, what Sadaya is doing, for example, in Saudi Arabia is a complete example of that. The applications we got to see now in Abshir, Tawakkalna, Sahati, and so on, where all the data is collected, everything is artificially intelligent in a way. It gives you your location, who was the last person you did contact, if you are infected, la qaddar Allah, yes or no, how to deal with that, green and blue. All this is the simple example of the artificial intelligence. What we get used to do manually is to be done in a digital way. That's in a simple words.
Thank you, Ustad Mohammed.
Thank you.
Ustad Yahya, from your experience, where do you see these artificial intelligence, and is it intelligent enough to improve our work, or how can we use it?
Sure. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here with all of you. Thank you very much for this kind opportunity and for this very well-organized event. So if you allow me to kind of tie up everything I've heard from our dear and esteemed panelists, I like to describe AI through three things mainly. It's a computer system that performs a task that requires intelligence. So let's break it down. A computer system means that it's automated. It crunches data without human intervention. You just create a data pipeline that goes into that AI system, and the processing happens automatically, or if you wish, automagically. Second, it performs a task. So either the system tells you when is your next customer going to churn, or it tells you if it detects, for example, a failure in your plant, or probably it's a visual system and it detects if there's danger in your area, or maybe there's a spill in your plant. And that's a task that is performed, which requires intelligence, which is the third component. Intelligence, meaning it requires the computer or the machine, as Mr. Muhammad described, to see. It requires the computer or machine, for example, to understand or comprehend text or speak. It requires the computer or machine to simulate what Engineer Fawaz mentioned, human behavior. And this is what brings AI together, in my opinion. And we all live this today. It's no longer science fiction. So let's try to separate where is AI today and where do we expect it to go into the future. So where it is today is what we enjoy maybe in our downtime when we watch YouTube and it recommends another video that we might like, or maybe when we search for something and we get search results that really match what we're trying to look for, or when we speak into our electronic device, whether it's Siri or Google Voice Assistant or Alexa, and it actually understands what we're saying and starts to perform actions. This is the AI reality that we're living today. And there are many, many more examples, especially when we relate it to operational excellence. One very simple example I like is all of us like to hire the best talent available. So I'd imagine all of you go through many, many resumes in a given period to try to identify the best talent. What if I told you that now I can build a system for you that goes through 10,000 resumes in a few minutes? How much time do you think it would take you to go through 10,000 resumes? And that's the main difference and the reality we're living today. Now, the key difference of where AI is today and where we want to take it into the future is in the second component I mentioned, which is tasks. Typically, an AI system built today is built for a particular task to perform a particular task. If I build an AI system to filter and sift through news or sift through resumes and identify the best resumes or best candidates, that system can only perform that task. It cannot magically start identifying, for example, images, or start generating music, or start generating text. It was built for a specific purpose. And that's why maybe often if you try and read about AI, you hear about the definition of narrow AI. And that's what it means, that it narrowly focuses on one particular task that it performs and maybe tasks that are similar to it. Now, what we want to move towards into the future is general AI. We want to start building systems that comprehend and connect information on its own, especially on data it has never seen before. So let me give you a very simple example. If I only tell you a name of a person, Abdullah, what comes to mind? You might have not met this person, you might not know them, but you already have connected several pieces of information that the computer system might not be able to do very simply. Abdullah, first of all, is an Arabic name. Abdullah, second of all, is a Muslim name. Abdullah, third of all, is a name of a man. These are already three things you know about Abdullah. He's probably someone's son, maybe even someone's father, maybe someone's brother. There are 6 things that you've already known about Abdullah without knowing who Abdullah is. A computer system cannot do this very easily and generalize the information that it knows today and expand its knowledge base. And that's essentially where general AI wants to go into the future. And we're very excited because every year we see new and improved and exciting revelations in the AI community that sometimes are very impressive and maybe even blow your mind a bit. Maybe the latest one was GPT-3, where they actually built a computer system that builds new computer systems. And that was quite exciting. And we're excited to see what comes into the future.
Thank you very much. I think that will lead us to what is the relation of the AI and this amazing example with operation excellence.
Perfect. So I believe there is a good relationship between AI overall and business, operations, industries. So AI is one of these fields that can be implemented across the whole organizations, across the whole industries, and be very effective. So if we look at the environments currently we are working on, whether we are coming from the private sectors, governments, or international companies, there is always unpredictability from the dynamics that are happening within the organizations or outside. Very recent example that we got even bored to mention is the virus that was initiated in a country. In a couple of weeks, it became the pandemic for the whole world. The COVID-19 pandemic was a real example of how digital transformation was essential, not just a luxury for us to implement. Now, with that change, there is a lot of new processes that have been implemented, and with that, it came to us what's being called now and coined as operational debt. So what it means, or the business process and operational debt, what it means is there's actually debt is always bad thing. So this is a signal of how bad the new processes that you are establishing in ad hoc basis that could lead you to. So that implementation of new business processes, you have to identify where are the glitches of that business process. So you are initiating a new way of working from home, or you are doing a business to close deals, or initiating a new manufacturing facility in a new country. With implementing that with the new dynamics of the pandemic, AI would be able to predict. AI could be able to analyze the current situation and the current data that you already have. Also, it will be able to improve the operational. As we know, operational excellence is all about continuous improvement. It's all about executing your business strategy that is coming top-down to the different business units, to the different departments. AI can be your very best friend in executing that, monitoring the execution, and also helping you out to do this agility as much as possible, because agility probably is not easy for each of the industries. For example, for us in Sadaya, it might be easy to be implemented because we work with apps, we work with Tawakkalna, we work with Abshir, we work with Ihsan. However, if you are building a facility, if you have more of CapEx projects that need you to migrate to a new country and build a new facility, or maybe such as the SWCC and the different sectors working in agriculture and water, those kind of projects probably is different than the agile by native projects such as those with IT. However, agility is always can be introduced. The lessons learned can we always be helpful. The earlier you provide them to the decision makers, the better they can make a change and they can add value. And also they can help you to get to the point and optimize the cost, reduce the operating cost, and also get better results with safer and better solutions.
So if we are back to optimization, what are the fields that we will optimize with AI, or will try to optimize it as a sector or within your field in Siemens or in Schneider?
Yeah, optimization is extremely important when it comes to the cost saving, as Engineer Majid said, in terms of operation cost, in terms of lifespan of the product itself. So there is many ways which we can optimize utilizing the AI. It will help in the predictive maintenance and the corrective maintenance. You don't need to do the preventive maintenance unless it is really needed, or even to predict any failure on the product before it get failure. We are proud in Siemens providing such AI solutions with our host today, SWCC, in some applications, either being Siemens Optim solution in the plant itself, which will make the plant more efficient in the operation, or even AI solution in the pipeline, which is a very, very critical, I would say, application to detect any leak in the pipe or predict any leak in the pipe that's coming, especially in such very important pipelines, either coming to the capital city or any other major pipelines.
Ustad Mohammed, from your side.
Yeah, just I will add to what my fellow colleagues said. From the artificial intelligence point of view, in the optimization, is typically in the predictive maintenance, where you can predict the performance of the machines, the performance of the total system of different sites and plants, and you can take the right action on the right time, optimizing your cost and energy. One focused, precised application which really supports the water industry in general is the leakage detection system, where in the past we used to have leakage in any pipes, but you cannot identify where. And then you have leakage of water, which is our energy, and you cannot deal with it. Now with the artificial intelligence systems, you can detect where exactly is the leakage in the pipes under the ground, and you go to that particular part to be able to drill and then fix the problem and come back. Such applications based on the artificial intelligence is proving to us the need of the AI and the future that should come more with more in the AI applications for the coming data in a time where we say it's the big data time. We got used to speak about the IoT, the Internet of Things, and now we speak more about the IIoT, which is the Industrial Internet of Things. With such big data time, with this data, what shall we do? It's not about just gathering the data as much as analyzing the data, usage of such data in artificial way with the intelligence of the machines. It's not kind of replacing the human beings as much as you are using the human beings who program the machines of doing better systems in an efficient way, optimizing our life. That's it.
Yahya, mashallah, wearing two hats, a hat of the expert and a hat within the ministry as well. You mentioned the tasks and tasks that we want to automate and how can we automate them. Do you think of certain tasks that we can automate within the industry that will lead to operation excellence? And how do you look as well after that from the ministry point of view?
Sure. So thank you very much, Dr. Abdulrahman, and again, this team panel. So I fear last time I spoke too much, so I'm timing myself to 3 minutes this time. So hopefully I don't speak too much. But this is a very exciting and passion of mine, so thank you again for having me here. So I'll start first with the general of where I think AI can help with operational excellence, and then I'll zoom into what are we doing at the Ministry of Energy and where do we see the opportunities. So I believe AI can help operational excellence in 4 areas. First of all, synthesizing knowledge. Second, decentralizing experience and expertise. Third of all, scaling solutions. And on fourth is actually, so we mentioned synthesizing, scaling, and also decentralizing experience. And the fourth is identifying new patterns that were unforeseen. So these are 4 areas where I feel AI can help operational excellence. So let me explain very quickly. First, when I say synthesizing information, when I have 200 oil rigs drilling in the geography of Saudi Arabia, how can I take one experience learned in one rig and cascade it to the remaining 199? And that's where AI can help by centralizing the data into one place and using that to drive decisions and improved operational excellence in the remaining rigs. Now let's move to the second one, which we said was, now you need to help me out, I started to forget my 4. So we said scaling as well was another one. As Engineer Mohammed just mentioned, we now are moving into the realm of big data. And what does big data mean compared to normal data? Now, if you just go to Instagram or Twitter, you always see new tweets and new photos coming up without any structured time or any set time. Probably by the minute I started speaking till now, maybe there are thousands of tweets that were out there. And this is the size of scale of data that we're dealing with today. So the scale that you can operate in can completely and dramatically change your operational excellence strategy. And second, we also mentioned about identifying new patterns. So when we start to synthesize information from all over the world, for example, if we take news bits, for example, and we start to gather knowledge, or if we start to synthesize information from many different research papers, or we heard about the example of predictive maintenance, we start to identify new patterns that were unforeseen and can help us in our operational excellence strategy. Now from there, and I know I missed one of our 4, but allow me to zoom in to not take too much time into what we're doing at the energy scale. So in energy, I think we're focusing on 3 main things. First of all, the improvement in terms of compliance and regulation of the energy sector. Now, we have, for example, every day in the kingdom, 2 million barrels of petroleum products being moved around the country over, let's say, about roughly 13,000 to 15,000 trucks every day. Now, how can you ensure the compliance in terms of quantity and quality of those products so then they're delivered to the customers in time with the quality that they purchased them for? That's an area of operational excellence. The second is also trying to identify areas where we can improve sustainability of the energy sector. How can we identify carbon emissions? How can we see where are they coming from? And how can we then start to manage them and make our energy sector more efficient? And then the last sector that we're looking at is security and resilience of the energy supply. Because it's very important, and maybe it's not news to anyone in this room, that there are several attacks that come to very critical energy assets. And this can cause disruption to our communities here in the kingdom if we're not properly planning and also safeguarding against those attacks. And that's another form of operational excellence in which AI can help us predict new patterns, can help us synthesize information, can help us scale our solutions, and can help us decentralize expertise. Thank you very much.
Excellent, thank you, Yahya. So can you give us more examples about AI used in Saudi or in some cases in GCC countries?
Sure. So the way we categorize AI use cases could be categorized into two main categories. The first one are the general categories that could be applied to any organization, simply any organization, a startup, a large company, a government entity, and this is more related to the common and shared services in these organizations. We can take, for example, the HR. There is always recruitment. There is always a journey for the employees from hiring to the retirement. And through that process, there are always major milestones that can be improved. The efficiency of that process can be increased with more and better results for the decision makers. For example, we heard about the screening of the resumes by Yahya. So that's a real example. There are some solutions that you can implement today to screen a lot of resumes. And those products are available in the market. You can just acquire and use. Probably you need to have more configuration to help you out to use that effectively, but it's being there. There is also the function of estimating the workforce and do the manpower planning for your organization every year. So it depends on your cycle and the organization, how long it takes. That could be done in an unbiased way, so you can do your work as HR team. However, you can get the unbiased recommendations from the solutions. Also, you can apply AI to recommend a career development program for your employees based on their skills, based on their priorities at the work, and also linking that with all the available information. You can't think of how many information you already have in your ERP system, including your strategy documents, your expenses, your income, your strategy goals and plans for the individuals, for the departments, and for the whole organization. Consolidating all of that information together could really make a big difference in your organization. Another example could be not on the individual level, it could be on the projects level. If you do have CapEx projects or even OpEx projects that cost you millions or billions, you always want to make sure that the process from the inception to the execution is done properly. AI can help you, for example, to optimize the resources, to allocate them properly. Also, AI can help you to predict the failures prior to happening in the execution of the project. And I remember in one of the projects I was working on a couple of years ago in a different organization, we were monitoring huge CapEx projects, and we use very basic AI tools and predictions to stop the delay of certain projects from happening. Because if you monitor the data and you receive a certain indicator that there might be a delay of 6 months or 9 months because of a delay in logistics or because a lack of expertise, then you can solve it immediately and escalate it to the right decision makers to sort it. Last month, I remember I was in a very productive business meetings, and we were using a startup solution for video conferencing. And that solution was very, actually it was very smart, wasn't complicated. So all of us were meeting online, and the solution for video conferencing is a small company in the US, and all people interacting in the solutions can just talk freely, and by end of the meeting, we can get some matrices related to the energy of the meeting. You can tell if the meeting was productive or not. You can tell if people were collaborating with each other or not. And you can tell if Majid is interrupting Abdulrahman or not. So all of these matrices were generated in real time, and we were able to see them immediately after the meeting. This is a very simple use case. However, if it's being used effectively and improved with time, you can reach even to outcomes that help you to improve the culture of your organization, not just do a certain task or conduct a business meeting, but you can also monitor the challenges in your organization cultures.
I'm getting excited about the whole topic, and this excitement fades sometimes with I don't know how to proceed. So what do you think, how can we proceed? What is the infrastructure needed? And how can we start or implementing them?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. Actually, we are already started. The good thing that we have in Saudi, the government is supporting this, and we are ahead of other nations surrounding us by having Sadaya and by having a national center of AI. Still, the potential is huge, and we are expecting always more from them, but it is there. Also, in terms of regulation of the AI and data protection, it's already there. And I would say now, we as a private sector, as well as the government sector, we should work together to move on and start executing such thing. The first thing is to understand the importance of the AI. Without understanding how AI will be adding value to us as individual, to our economy, how it's going to grow our country, we will not take it serious. So understanding the importance of the AI is very important. According to McKinsey, AI will add $13 trillion to the global GDP by 2030, which is 16% of current GDP. This is a huge number. And each country which is going to apply AI, the economic growth will be from 5% to 25% based on the country situation. I would say we in Saudi are special. We are under a very ambitious leadership and the vision 2030, which is driving us very fast to such a new technology. We are a very young generation. We are adapting to technology very fast. 70% of our population is less than 35 years old. I'm sure you are all aware about how big Saudi in digitalization and acquiring the new technology. We are number 2 in G20 in terms of adaptation of the new technology. So having the regulation and knowing the understanding of the AI, now it comes to the real collaboration between the private sector and the government entities to move forward by executing some projects like what we are having with SWCC and other government entities, and utilizing it in a better way. Other thing is also preparing our youth and our coming generation to be ready for such a new technology, which we in Siemens also participating with some universities in order to make our students ready for these new technology, being AI, big data, IoT, smart cities, or even some government entities like Sadaya. I know they are preparing a lot of students to be ready to lead such technology in the market. MISC also doing a great job on that, and we are cooperating with them and having some of their students working a real project here in Siemens Saudi. Thank you.
So Mohammed, any particular projects that you think are interesting, especially in energy, or how to use AI on these projects, either we are using or we're planning to use it?
Sure. When we see that in the vision of 2030, the government had announced an investment of $175 billion in the technological field. This means what? This is like 12% out of the total GDP. to be focused on the technological part and the new technology. That value is giving us a great opportunity to apply the artificial intelligence and the new technological softwares. For us as a technology provider, we can see all the projects across the different segments. When we speak residential, in the hotels, in the home sector, in the hospitals, lots of projects which requires artificial intelligence. For us as users, sometimes we don't realize what's happening beside us. We see that things are coming more developed, but we don't get the real what's happening around that. Meaning that now when you enter a hotel and you get inside the room and you start feeling that the lights are coming on and off as per your movement inside the room. Such example, for us as consumers or users, we don't think what is that, but this is artificial intelligence. It is happening because somebody did that in programming the room by using certain systems. When it feels you are inside, the light comes on and off, and the AC itself, the cooling system, will be increased and decreased as per the number of people inside the room. When you speak about the utility of the electricity and how we can make what we speak about the auto grid and the smart grid by load shading or increasing and decreasing the generation of power and shutting on and off different substations as per the loads inside the area, this is artificial intelligence. Same inside the water segment, same in the oil and gas, and so on and so forth. So what is required from us is to understand more the real meaning and the value of the artificial intelligence, ensure that the infrastructure across the different segments are prepared for that. This cannot be done by the government alone. This is not a governmental side alone to do it, but it is the private sector and the consumers as well. If we all get convinced about the topic and we get inside it, we will leverage the existence of such technology in developing the country and developing the experience we have in different topics, in different projects. Above and beyond that, when you see the personal experience now, even in driving a car, having the Google Maps. In the past, we get used to get lost in the streets. We don't know this place. We don't know how to go. Now you travel any place in the world. You just rent a car and you drive and you have the Google Maps with you, which takes you whenever you would like to go. All this is artificial intelligence. So just to feel the importance of it and the need we have as individuals, as companies, as government is the base. Preparing the infrastructure for that to ensure that we are able to apply the systems is a must. If we speak about a water plant, if we don't have a smart gauges, valves, pumps, and so on and so forth, you will not be able to smart intelligence or smart monitor the plant, right? So the infrastructure now, what's happening from inside the SWCC and others, by applying that in making the infrastructure smart from the first beginning, this will give us the opportunity to ensure the smart operation and the intelligence operation and the excellence operation. What we speak in terminologies, maybe the normal users don't understand, is typically what is happening every day. From the other side as well, when you see, as I said, the big data we are having nowadays, analyzing the data and having the different apps and analytics is giving us the most efficient output of the different systems we have. In oil and gas, as my colleague Yahya was speaking, how many barrels we have a day? Compare the production nowadays versus the production 1 decade back. The difference that the artificial intelligence is making from an efficiency point of view is massive and huge. So just to conclude and not take a long time, as Yahya is saying, it's really important, requires the cooperation between the private sector and the government and the technology providers as well. What we are doing in Schneider, our colleagues in Siemens and all other companies, is the technology developed day by day. The coordination between all of us with the government as the private sector will make the difference. In Saudi Arabia, I can see that the country is taking the lead across the whole territory where we are living in. It's coming a real smart, focused country, where by 2030, I believe it will be the real leader in the smart world and the artificial world. Thank you.
Excitement is contagious. While I'm getting excited, Yahya, I'm thinking, okay, we have the data. Most of our plants and operation in many of our organizations are automated. We have the data for them. So what's hindering us from getting all the benefits from AI and doing all the optimization, our operation excellence improvement we want or hope for?
Sure. Thank you very much, Dr. Abdulrahman, and again, the esteemed panelists. So I like this term that I kind of made up, which I call data and AI intuition. And let me take you through what that means. So what I mean by that is, if you meet anyone who has been in any industry, healthcare, finance, energy, 20 years, 30 years plus, when you speak to them, you probably see that they have a certain intuition that they've developed through experience of how they read financial statements, how they read a patient's vitals, how they, for example, walk through an energy facility or plant and identify if there's an issue or if everything is operating normally. Now, how can we transfer that similar sense or intuition that we have as humans, as people, that we have developed through our experiences, and transfer that into a machine? And also, how can we enable the people to know how to leverage those machines and how to leverage data? So to me, I bring it back to the point of, if we, for example, have mountains of data in our offices, do we really see the value that we can create from that mountain? Do we really see how we can monetize that information? Do we see what questions we can answer with that information? Do we see what new patterns, what experience can we decentralize, what can we scale? And this is the intuition that I'm talking about. And I think we're getting there. I'm not talking from vacuum as if I'm saying we're starting from scratch. I see a lot of promising steps, as my esteemed panelists have mentioned, that are heading into that in a direction of building that intuition at a national scale. So imagine what we can do together as a nation when everyone knows how we can benefit from data, when everyone knows how AI can help them solve a certain problem. You do not need to be an AI expert yourself. You do not need to be able to program AI models yourself. If you're excited about that, then please, you're more than welcome to do so. But you do not need to know that experience, because that's the biggest issue I've always seen when I speak to anyone about AI. They imagine that I need to learn programming, I need to go brush up on my statistics knowledge, I need to go learn multidimensional calculus. You don't need to do all of that. For example, all of us know our bodies, but we typically go to a doctor if we need medical attention. I don't think everyone starts to self-medicate and self-prescribe medication, because you need a professional to take a look at it. But you know that there is something wrong. You know that you need to go ask for advice. You know that you need to talk to someone. The same thing, for example, you might not be an investor, but you have certain money that you want to invest. So you speak to someone who is a professional at investment. The same thing happens to data and AI. You see that you have an opportunity, you can speak to a professional that can help you build that opportunity and create value out of it. Now, coming back to your question, we have mountains of data lying around. So I bring it back to a few things I've mentioned. How can we monetize that information? How can we create value? And the most intuitive of all, what questions can we answer with that data? And I think if we think about that one point, what questions can we answer with data? I think that would help us move forward to building our AI intuition and building AI solutions.
Ustad Majid, it seems to me that while Yahya said, I don't need to learn that much statistics or calculus, maybe I need to. So that takes us to the skills. Do we need to maybe change our jobs, or do we need to get trained? How do we have the intuition Yahya is talking about?
Well, there is always a dilemma that AI is going to eliminate jobs. AI is probably the future enemy of the normal workers in the world. And personally, I believe that artificial intelligence can never be replacing the human intelligence, especially at the today's inputs. So today we see the capabilities of human intelligence, we see the capabilities of artificial intelligence, and we see them as complementing each other rather than competing with each other. For example, human intelligence is always smart enough to be the creative, to be the able to give the abstract of what they see, what they know, what they learn. And this is a weakness in the artificial intelligence tools and machines. Human intelligence, however, is not able all the time to process very complicated logic and transactions. For example, you can do a transaction on Google search to search 5 billion websites to find out the word intelligence, where it headed in these websites. Google search, with its capabilities, can give you the answer in a second or two, with some preparation, of course, in the back end. However, if you spend the 50 years for your brain to do that process, you won't be able to even count 1% of these pages and do the processing on them. So there are some differences between the two, and this is very healthy because you want to complement your intelligence with the artificial intelligence. You want the AI to help you to advance, to move forward. And yes, AI might be replacing and eliminating some of the repetitive tasks and jobs for the human beings, but those will be immediately replaced by more and higher level of creative jobs that we see today. For example, we at Sadaya, we have announced that we are going to work until 2030 to build a force of specialists and experts in data and AI up to 25,000. And those include the upskilling programs for the young people to learn the data and AI fields, and also for the reskilling programs for those professionals who need to acquire data and AI for their businesses, for their fields, and their sectors. We don't see the work to be eliminated. We see new opportunities that are coming in the next 5 to 10 years. We know some of them by now. Yes, there are some new majors have been opened in the universities. And I remember in one of the discussions with the KFUPM, King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals, and I'm very proud to be one of its graduates and alumni. I have heard that they have now a program to have AI be enforced for each student prior to the graduation. They have to take at least one AI course, even if they are taking some engineering or management degrees. And this will be a trend for other universities for sure in the region and the globe. So AI is becoming a complementer, is becoming the best friend of engineers and professionals and decision makers rather than a warrant as an enemy.
Speaking of some of the challenges, so if we are going to have or rest assured that we have new skills and talents for the future, how can we think about the privacy and security of those systems? And we are using a lot of systems now, and you want me to automate. I recall one of the city managers a while ago. I was talking to him about a smart system, especially for water, valves. And he was, no, I'm not connecting the valves to the internet. How can we deal with this, and how can you make sure that the privacy and security of such systems are there?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Abdulrahman. This is a very important question. With all these new technology, privacy is a very big concern for the government and for the individual. I would say what we are moving in the country here overall to more having in-house, I would say, data and enforcing the data protection laws, which is very comprehensive, and we are expecting even more development of such regulation to the companies and to the other government entities by having all the applications, all the information to be on premise or to be at least in Saudi, not to be like hosted somewhere else, either in the region or in the cloud. We don't know where exactly. This, I think, one of the very essential points which the government is taking to help our privacy. Second important thing is the awareness for the people overall, which is, I think, it also need continuous enhancement and continuous awareness, either for the employees, for the people, for the normal user, and I think it is there, but also required a lot of awareness and campaign to help people to be aware. Like, for example, on a personal level, if you have any link on WhatsApp or something, this is kind of awareness. We used to not pay much attention on such thing. Nowadays, I see people are aware. I've seen a lot of, even a family member sometimes come to me, I have this link, should I click or no? So people getting educated about such thing. So this is the main thing I would say.
So Mohammed, from your side.
Yep. Actually, I will take the 2 points. The first point of the people and the artificial intelligence will eliminate the jobs, yes or no. It's the complete contrary. It will never eliminate the jobs. And just when we have this threat and people speaks about, it's coming out resistance to change and the fear usually we have. But let's take the simple example. Our finance accounting people. In the past, they used to have the big books doing lots of tables and doing the accounting and writing like 7, 8, 9 pages together, right? Now, with the artificial intelligence softwares and so on and so forth, the ERPs are doing that for them in a simple click. Did we fire all the accountings from the companies and the organizations? Sure not. It does exist. They still work. The only difference that they are more efficient. And accordingly, they can use their minds to be more creative and innovative in their jobs. Such an example is copy-paste on all the different other jobs. The artificial intelligence will never replace the human beings. It's only increasing the creativity and the efficiency of the human beings. This is one side of the story. Back to your question on the security. Definitely, cybersecurity is the main key part. And ensuring the regulations and the policies is a must. Before we put our data in connection to the internet, the procedures, the regulations, the rules must be there, ensuring that the data protection across the different users, the different technology providers, whomever will do the system for the organization or the plant or the site or the hospital or wherever, should follow these regulations. And I see the kingdom is moving in a perfect way. Regulations are there. Not to put the data outside the country is a must. Accordingly, we see lots of data centers, projects under execution now inside the kingdom to ensure that we have the space of using the required data with such approach and ensure the regulations and the cybersecurity. There is no fear at all of applying the artificial intelligence. That's my simple point. Thank you.
Yeah, especially from a regulation perspective, while Ministry of Energy regulate the industry itself, how do you see those regulations? Are they going to hinder or improve or support us to adopt those new technologies?
Sure. So thank you very much. Again, really enjoyable to actually learn from all of the esteemed panelists. To address your first question and then maybe go back to some points that were mentioned earlier. In terms of regulation, when you're in government, you want to strike a kind of balance between not over-regulating a sector, and that way preventing the creativity and private sector from innovating and creating new solutions. But you also need to govern what happens in that sector to avoid catastrophes or issues from happening. One very simple example of that I've personally worked in is the industry of autonomous vehicles or self-driving cars, right? So if you want to build an autonomous vehicle or self-driving car, I cannot just launch it in the streets randomly. It cannot just go and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work, maybe it drives on a sidewalk and maybe it hits someone and maybe it doesn't. It's not a matter of chance. You cannot leave that to chance when people's lives are at stake. So you need a form of regulation. So there was a regulation in terms of receiving a license to test autonomous vehicles, to collect data, to process, to operate in certain zones, also creating levels of autonomy and how a vehicle can operate itself without having a human safety driver behind the wheel. All of that is very important to allow innovation to happen in a way that is constructive and allows for our society to grow. We see similar opportunities in the energy sector because we want to strike a balance between maintaining the great operation and dependence of the world on Saudi Arabia when it comes to energy. Saudi Arabia is playing a pivotal role more than ever today when it comes to energy around the globe. We are the #1 most reliable supplier of energy in all of its forms, whether it's hydrocarbons, electricity, hydrogen, and carbon as well. So how do we maintain that leadership and also continue to innovate and create new solutions that were unprecedented and tested in all of these dangerous environments without causing harm or catastrophe? Now that's where the role can come for regulators to come in and create an environment. And we've seen an example of that in Saudi Arabia within the fintech industry. So the Central Saudi Bank created the fintech's regulatory sandbox, and it allows many startups to come in and test their ideas and innovate within a safe environment. And then if their idea succeeds and shows its merits, they can go out to the public and provide their solutions. That's an opportunity that we can also create in the energy sector. If you allow me, I would like to go back to the point on talent and also security. So on talent, also working in the self-driving car industry or autonomous vehicle industry, I've seen AI create jobs as well. So for example, when all of these autonomous vehicles collect raw data and video footage, who is going to take that data and process it and prepare it before you can build an AI model with it? When we were operating, I was at a company called NVIDIA. We were employing 1,000 people that used to process and label that data. Those are jobs created through AI. Another job is actually you need technicians for an autonomous vehicle or in the autonomous vehicle industry to calibrate all the sensors that are in an autonomous vehicle. You have radars, you have LiDAR, which are a laser form of detection. You have cameras. You have so many different sensors in a single autonomous vehicle. And you need staff to calibrate and ensure that those sensors are operating properly. There's always the risk, and one of my favorite stories that I've read in a history book is that the technology that disrupted the most jobs in our human society up until now is the sewing machine. Before the sewing machine, people used to sew clothes manually. And we had many manual laborers that were displaced as soon as the sewing machine was invented. We're going through a similar disruption with AI. As Engineer Mohammed just mentioned, we're not just going to fire our staff. But one thing, and this was actually inspired by Majid Allah Talafi as he was talking, one thing that we have as a human race that is better than a machine is our ability to adapt. So when an accountant all of a sudden doesn't need to go through all the manual tasks and routine tasks they used to do, they can adapt and create new ways in which they can leverage their skill set and find new ways in how they can operate and add value to their organization. I'm not saying it's an immediate transition where next morning you immediately adapt all of a sudden. It requires reskilling. It requires us to think of future-proofing our jobs for our staff. But if we're talking about this today, that's how we shape the future tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our esteemed panelists. I really enjoyed the discussion. I hope the audience here enjoyed the discussion as well. I keep taking notes because those are new things to me while I work in the field. So thank you very much for your time and for your amazing discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
شكرا لمدير هذه الجلسة ولمتحدثيها. واسمحوا لي أن أدعو على المسرح الآن الأستاذة منال الماضي، وهي مديرة الشراكات في المؤسسة العامة لتحلية المياه المالحة، لتقديم التكريمات والإهداءات إلى مستحقيها وهم المتحدثين في هذه الجلسة. هذا الإهداء مقدم إلى المتحدث الرسمي والمدير العام للإدارة العامة للدراسات في الهيئة السعودية للبيانات والذكاء الاصطناعي ماجد الشهري. إهداء إلى نائب أول الرئيس والمدير الإقليمي للصناعات الرقمية في شركة سيمنز السعودية فواز الشمري. الرئيس التنفيذي لشركة شنايدر إلكتريك في السعودية محمد شاهين. والمستشار في وزارة الطاقة في المملكة العربية السعودية يحيى خوجة. وتتوج الإهداءات بإهداء إلى مدير هذه الجلسة مدير عام المركز الوطني لتنمية المواهب والذكاء الاصطناعي في الهيئة السعودية للبيانات والذكاء الاصطناعي عبدالرحمن حبيب. كل التحية والشكر والتقدير لمدير هذه الجلسة ولضيوفه الكرام. هذا المؤتمر يحقق الجانب المادي المحسوس. حين تدخلون إلى هذه القاعة ستمرون بمجموعة من التجارب الجيدة التي تشاهدونها. أيضاً يحقق الجانب التنظيري القولي من خلال الجلسات الحوارية التي تشهدونها في كل يوم، بدءاً من اليوم الأول واليوم الثاني، وستشهدونها غداً في اليوم الثالث والختامي. هو أيضاً يحقق الجانب الفعلي العملي من خلال توقيع اتفاقية ستوقع الآن أمامكم لتتكامل هذه الجوانب الثلاث في مؤشر واضح لنجاح هذا المؤتمر. اسمحوا لي أن أستأذن وأدعو سعادة نائب محافظ المؤسسة العامة لتحلية المياه المالحة للإنتاج المهندس عبدالله الزويد ليشرف ويشرف هذه الاتفاقية. الاتفاقية ستوقع بين شركتي سيمنز السعودية وقطاف إلكتريك لمشروعات محطات التحلية المتنقلة في مجال حلول الأتمتة الذكية والرقمنة. أدعو ممثل شركة سيمنز السعودية المهندس فواز الشمري وهو رئيس قطاع الصناعة الرقمية. كما أدعو ممثل شركة قطاف إلكتريك المهندس هيثم جمال المدير التنفيذي للشركة من أجل توقيع هذه الاتفاقية. هذه واحدة من الخطوات التي يعول عليها كثيراً في إنجاح المشروعات المقبلة، والتي تتوج مثل هذا المؤتمر هي وغيرها من الاتفاقيات. كل التحية والتقدير والشكر لسعادة نائب المحافظ ولممثلي الشركتين، وأرجو أن تكون اتفاقية موفقة وناجحة ومباركة. ندعوكم الآن للتمتع باستراحة قصيرة، نلتقيكم بعدها في آخر جلسات الحوارية لهذا اليوم، وهو اليوم الثاني للمؤتمر. وقتا ممتعا، ونلتقيكم بصحبة المتحدثين ومدير الجلسة بعد هذه الاستراحة.